Welcome to London, the libel capital of the world.
£600,000 in damages.
This is the High Court, where QCs and judges decide who pays and who gets paid. So be careful what you say. See you in court may be the most expensive words you'll ever hear. Tonight, two controversial figures. Uri Geller pursues Britain's biggest tabloid and American television over his relationship with Michael Jackson.
I do not understand how an editor of such a big newspaper allows his journalists to print such garbage. This is a very big column. It's about celebrities. It's about show business. Look at this insulting headline. Uri Geller. It said, I'm in business with Michael Jackson. Not only cutting an album, but with this song, they're going to save the world from the financial problems. Come on.
It's the spring of 2009, and what's made Uri furious is an article in The Sun alleging that he and Michael Jackson are proposing that a hidden subliminal message is added to the single released by the X Factor winner. In London, Michael Jackson has just announced his comeback tour.
In my career, I have sort of tossed off many stories that kind of were not true and called me names and so forth. But this is another story altogether. I say to everyone, I have no contact with Michael Jackson whatsoever, and suddenly this story comes and tells an opposite side. This is making me look like a hypocrite, and that's what made me pick up the phone and call Paul Tweed.
Uri's lawyer, Paul Tweed, is an internationally renowned libel lawyer with a clutch of other celebrity clients, including Britney Spears, Liam Neeson and J-Lo.
I mean, I've got to take Uri's reputation as it was 20 seconds before that article hit the newsstands. So it's against that background that I'm reading the article, and I have to decide, has his reputation been lowered in the minds of right-thinking people?
Hello, Mr. Paul Tweed.
The story tells people that, hey, I'm Michael Jackson's buddy, and I do these strange and weird things. If I would read anything like this in this newspaper about anyone else, I would believe that.
Yes.
The way I contacted Simon Cowell and discussions with Michael Jackson. Yes, I used to know Michael Jackson. Everyone knows that. But it's been now at least 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 years, that I haven't been in touch with him.
They've quite clearly stated that you have been in conversation with Michael Jackson. You have no contact with him whatsoever. That is highly defamatory.
I do not understand how an editor of such a big newspaper allows his journalists to print such garbage.
They should always ask the subject of the article,
Exactly.
is this true? I just want to explain those aspects of the article that I feel we should take action in relation to. There is a significant distinction between an allegation that is defamatory and what would be regarded as mere vulgar abuse. Now, for instance, it refers to you as a silly Burke, which is, gratuitous, offensive comment. But if that was the only basis of this article, I'd be saying, leave it. It's just ignore it, turn the other cheek. But the article totally undermines your reputation and your credibility. Anyone who has read this article and then subsequently hears you deny that you've had any contact with Michael Jackson automatically assumes you're lying. You're a hypocrite. You're a man that cannot be relied on.
Absolutely.
And that will be the focus of the legal proceedings that I'm now advising that we issue.
Yeah. These type of newspapers also are on the tabletops of commissioning editors, whether it's ITV or BBC2 or BBC1 or Channel 5 or Channel 4. Now, you just think, you find this newspaper on the desk of a commissioning editor, and he reads it. Come on, what does he think about me? That's what annoys me, angers me. Character assassination.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that I will not take.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, Uri Geller.
Questions have been asked about Uri Geller from his first appearance on television bending spoons in the 1970s.
Surprises me extremely.
Look, it's becoming like fast. Look, it's very...
His claims to have mystifying powers have attracted controversy ever since.
You know, I've been around for a long time, and throughout my 40-year career, I think there are many stories that called me names and so forth. Every successful man or controversial person has enemies. That's it.
But it's his former relationship with another controversial figure that has caused him to call in the lawyers. 3 months into his libel action, there's a truly shocking development.
Good evening. We have breaking news for you tonight. The singer Michael Jackson is reported to have died from a heart attack.
The day Michael died, probably 40 minutes after it happened, I got a phone call, and I simply could not believe it. And the journalist told me, Mr. Geller, do you know about Michael Jackson? Is it true? I thought I'm dreaming, and I thought to myself, I must be dreaming. This is a horror film, and I'm going to wake up from it. It's not possible. And I thought it was a hoax, and I slammed the phone down, angry. Then I immediately opened the television, and there was reality. Michael Jackson passed away. It was very hard because we're very strong and powerful friends for many years. How many times was Michael Jackson best man in people's wedding? I don't know, but he was my best man. The first question was, when did you talk to him last? They all wanted me to say, oh, I spoke to him yesterday.
In fact, the once close friends had grown apart, and Uri hadn't seen Jackson for over 3 years. But his sudden death makes Uri more determined than ever to get redress from the Sun.
You're hitting 2 people in one big story. It's not fair for Michael. See, it's one thing about me, but putting aside my ego, what about Michael Jackson? This is not fair.
It's only 4 days since Michael Jackson's death, but Paul Tweed has to see Uri about a surprising discovery he's made about the source of the story that appeared in The Sun.
Incredible as this might seem, the basis of the story was an email that was passed to The Sun that was purportedly from Uri to Simon Cowell, indicating that Uri and, quote, his friend Michael Jackson would combine their respective mental powers to solve the economic crisis. Now, I don't know, I would be very reluctant to make any specific comments on this, but I find it quite incredible, obviously, that a story should be based solely on this piece of information.
Do you know, Paul, I find this so bizarre, strange, and almost paranormal that here we are dealing with Michael Jackson's name.
Yeah.
And, you know, he dies. I find it very strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out of all the times, all the years, of all the decades.
So it's very sad, and as I say, in a sense, this is not about the late Michael Jackson, of course. It is about the reputation of Uri Geller, and so they're completely separate issues.
Paul wants to show Uri a copy of the email that the article was based on.
To my dear friend Simon, and this is purportedly from you, it has come to my attention that the world we currently inhabit has become prey to the negative forces that occasionally take control in this universe. But I have a plan, along with my very great friend and fellow guardian of the universe, Michael Jackson. If you would agree to integrate this recording subliminally into the single released by this year's X Factor winner, then untold masses will hear and act upon the requests, triggering the subconscious into great feats of positive channeling. Together we can change the world, together we can heal the world, together we can save the world. All my respect, Uri Geller, Freud.
It's absolutely not me. I don't use these type of phrases, and I never sign Uri Geller Freud, although my name in my passport is Uri Geller Freud, but that's common knowledge. Everyone knows that.
We exchange emails on a regular basis, and I'm very familiar with your style of writing, the style of email you send. You have never, in any of your emails, used the last name Freud. That is absolutely nothing like the style of your approach. Absolutely nothing. But I find it quite incredible that the paper latched onto this and published.
Any journalist would immediately know that an email can be faked easily. And the Sun's mistake was simply not to do the very simple thing and pick up the phone and call me.
The Sun are saying that they did attempt to contact you, and if they couldn't get hold of you, of course, the simple answer is they shouldn't have published.
They send something of this nature to damage your credibility, and they hope that it will be published, and in this case it was. The Sun fell for this email. So this is a fake document, and it's definitely written out of malice.
The connection between Uri Geller and Michael Jackson has now led to another libel case. In the aftermath of Jackson's death, Uri believes he has been libeled again on American television, and he wants Paul Tweed to see the threats that have resulted.
Hi Uri, Paul here. We're just on the way. I said just landed at Heathrow, so I'll be out with you in about 25 minutes, hopefully.
The libel stems from Uri's involvement with the infamous 2003 documentary when Martin Bashir interviewed Jackson.
All the time. It's not sexual, but we're going to sleep. I tucked them in. I put a little music on.
It was controversial because Michael Jackson talked about his relationship with children.
You know, we have little cookies. It's very charming.
Hey, Paul!
Hey, good to see you again.
It was Uri Geller who introduced Jackson to Bashir. Uri was paid $200,000, which he gave to charity.
All right, how are you personally, Arnie Klein, dealing with all this?
But in the coverage of the star's death on Larry King Live, one of Jackson's doctors, Arnold Klein, claimed that Uri made money out of that introduction.
In their script, which was available on CNN, today when you say something on television, it's immediately on the internet. And even if you try to remove it, if the people will agree to remove it, the offending line, it stays in the cache of Google. So anyone really searching will find it. The certain doctors said Uri Geller was responsible for that, meaning I was responsible for the Martin Bashir infamous interview. And then he goes on to say Uri Geller sold that interview to Martin Bashir for $200,000. Obviously that insinuates that I pocketed the money selling Michael Jackson. You can imagine how angry one gets if, you know, someone is accusing you to profiting on Michael Jackson's name.
And now Uri has received a deluge of hate mail from angry Michael Jackson fans.
We will remember Michael Jackson for the $200,000 you sold him to Bashir for the interview. You sound so sincere about Michael's passing, yet you sold him down the river to Bashir. What a traitor you are, Uri. Glad you aren't my friend. I mean, it's terrible. It's shocking. Thanks for helping killing the hero of millions of people. Thank you, Uri. You're such a great man. And you see, this manufactured other stories. I just saw a story yesterday that said something like Uri Geller would pull out his grandmother's teeth to sell them. You know, when the documentary came out, the money went to a good cause. So lots of sick children probably benefited from the money that was raised for that documentary. This is the worst thing that could have been said about me in the last decades.
And it was just downright false.
And it was on a national, global, it was on a global network that broadcasts worldwide.
So anything that they broadcast is going to have that bit more credibility. You have got evidence. We can show to them the damage that's been caused to you by these poisonous emails that have been coming into you. And it's because you're so well known that this is happening.
You see, Paul, it's not those emails in particular, because those are targeting me personally. But say I'm negotiating a deal, and somebody in that company does a search, just to see, you know, what I've been doing lately and so on, and then comes up to this website, comes onto a website that says that I pocketed money and I betrayed Michael Jackson. Don't touch him. Let's find someone else. And that is where the major damage comes in.
The words were totally wrong, totally false, should never have been broadcast in the first place. We know that it's wrong, but the world out there doesn't. And so he's having to take the pain. We put them on notice that they need to broadcast a full and proper and categoric retraction and apology. He is also entitled to substantial damages for the injury to his reputation. They caused the damage, they've got to pay the price, and they've got to correct the damage caused.
The Sun have now agreed there is no factual basis to the splash piece they wrote, linking Uri, Michael Jackson and Simon Cowell. Uri's lawyer, Paul Tweed, knows what he wants from the apology.
This was a fairly high-profile article. You certainly couldn't miss it, and so I would expect them to reciprocate by giving the apology, you know, a very, very prominent position towards the front of the paper.
The reality when it arrives is very different.
Well, the apology was published. Obviously, as you can see here, it was a relatively small, I mean, we call them the postage stamp apologies.
However, Paul makes the best of it.
The whole trick is to ensure that you get appropriate prominence in the paper. So we've got above the crease, close to the front of the paper, so that, you know, people will pick it up. I mean, the BBC, among others, picked it up and gave it a good headline coverage. A number of the newspapers as well gave coverage. Uri was very satisfied once the record had been set straight.
I was happy with their apology, because most apologies today by the newspapers and magazines are so tiny that you have to not even look for them with a magnifying glass, but with a microscope. They're so tiny.
As Paul Tweed hosts a party in London for his clients, he wants to talk to Uri about the CNN position. The broadcaster is reluctant to settle over a claim on American television that he'd sold Michael Jackson to Martin Bashir.
It is such a black and white issue. I mean, Klein made an absolutely outrageous allegation, totally untrue. Now, CNN published what they're describing as a clarification, but it didn't go nearly far enough.
In connection with a comment made by our guest, Dr. Arnold Klein, on Wednesday's program, we were contacted by Uri Geller, who said he did not personally receive any money whatsoever in connection with the Martin Bashir interview of Michael Jackson. The doctor had said he did.
The big difficulty that I am up against is that CNN, in common with all American broadcasters and publishers, are very sensitive about their First Amendment rights, about their freedom of speech issues, and it's a very frustrating and difficult area for, a UK lawyer like me to deal with. They just do not want to have to concede anything that might compromise what they perceive as their fundamental rights there. Yeah. But we are seeking the apology. We published what we want. We want online, something in permanent form that's going to be out there.
Yeah.
And we are seeking damages, substantial damages. But they wanted this proof that you have not benefited financially, personally, from the Bashir interview.
Of course not.
And more importantly, even again, that any monies that were paid have gone straight to charity. We got this letter in from Tim Drucker,
who is my personal solicitor.
Absolutely. And so we now have a letter stating in clear and categoric terms that 3 charities were the beneficiaries of any monies that were paid.
I did not profit a penny out of the monies that ITV paid. It all went to charity, every penny.
Even they have to accept that, not only that they've published something false, but that it has led to ongoing damage of a very serious nature to you.
All those millions of people who saw it and believe in it, because it's there, it's written out there.
So I'm hoping that this will get the case put over the line and we can get the settlement.
Okay.
Paul Tweed has an outline settlement that he's negotiated with CNN to present to Uri. But there's a condition that could pose a problem for him. Uri's determined the public know the truth about him. CNN are demanding that what is agreed is totally confidential.
We're in this position today where, we've obviously got to make decisions. What does a confidentiality agreement normally entail? You cannot indicate if you've been paid damages, never mind the amount of damages. You can't indicate the fact of damages and costs. You cannot discuss the fact of a settlement. That's a compromise that a client has to decide whether to make it or not. I've got to speak to him today, and if he accepts that, that's his call.
Hey,
good to see
Paul,
you again.
good to see you. Thank you for coming. Was your flight
There is a confidentiality clause. All you can say are basically the statement that we have agreed, and what you can do is you can then refer. And then we're allowed, if somebody asks you to say, look, please to say that the case has now been settled on amicable terms, but I would refer you to the CNN website.
Okay.
Everyone has parted in good terms here. Really what we have agreed, we can state that the matter has been resolved amicably.
Yes.
Between the parties on confidential terms. That's as far as I can go.
Okay. I think Paul worked very, very hard to get to this amicable settlement, which is, in today's day and age, is quite normal. I am obviously elated that I can refer anyone to check out their website. The process has been terminated. That's it. I'm very, very happy.
Paul Tweed is in no doubt that Uri's settlement is in his best interest, but he is worried about the increasing pressure for confidentiality. He fears the public simply won't be aware that what they read or saw was wrong and eventually corrected.
Well, certainly, if it was my case, if I was bringing a libel, I wouldn't agree to confidentiality, I can tell you that, I wouldn't. But having said that, there are these financial considerations and enforcement considerations. I would say of the UK cases we're acting in, at the most 10% will be subject to a confidentiality clause, at the very most, against 100% of the American cases. If they say they want confidentiality in a case, I've got very, very limited options. I either say no deal, or I try to negotiate for the client a scenario where he gets his reputation vindicated, but the extent of that vindication is not revealed.